The next part of the story, it's about sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, when God is speaking about what happened in there. And this to remind us the destruction of sin and importance of righteousness. We live in the modern world and we have so many sins and sinners around us, but also through Yeshua, through Jesus, God made us righteous and He made us a testimony. And it's important for us to be His testimony for people around us, because God have deal with the sin through Yeshua, through Jesus, but also He using His people to change the atmosphere in the city, to change the situation. You see, I'm in the wilderness, I'm in a desert, but coming here, I pray for cities, I pray for people, I pray blessing over cities of Israel and even nations. So let's read together what God is doing in this situation and what is Abraham's response when he understood the heaviness and destruction of sin, and how he speaks with the Lord. So let's read verse 22. Then the man turned away from there and went towards Sodom, and Abraham still stood before the Lord. And Abraham came near and said, "Would you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there were 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it?" Now Abraham speaking to God about 50 people, and is saying, yes, I know destruction is coming, I know judgment is coming, but Lord, if there is 50 righteous men, will you spare city? Will you save city? And Lord's answer is yes, which is remind me that most of the congregations in Israel, they are about 50 people, 50, 40, 30 people. We have many not big congregations, small congregations. But this story tells us how important for God every believer and presence of the believers in the city. And Abraham received clear answer from the Lord. If there is 50, in Hebrew, Hamishim, Hamishim. It's a very special number because Shavuot, or Day of Pentecost, it is Hamishim, 50th day after Passover. So Hamishim, prophetic number, 50 people. God said, no, if there's 50 praying and 50 standing for my kingdom, I won't destroy city. But there was a problem. There were not even 50. Then Abraham continued to speak with God and intercede, and he asked him, what about 40 people? What about 30 people? What about 20 people? And what about just 10 people? Can you imagine big city with the walls, but 10 people? And God said, even 10 will be enough to preserve and to save city. So there is power when even 10 people in the city are praying and interceding. God is working through our prayers. In the name of Jesus, we receive power to pray. And those prayers worked in the life of Abraham and his relationship with God. But through Yeshua, through Jesus Christ, we have power to affect our cities. And even though maybe your church are not very big, but even small, the presence of believers in the city and their prayers carry weight, carry kingdom weight, and bringing God's changes into the city. So it's important to continue to pray, because God is counting on us. God is using us and using our prayer. When I think of this story, and when I look at different groups of people in different cities where it's more difficult for the gospel, it's given me hope and encouragement, because God is working. Even if very few people come together to pray and intercede and to proclaim blessings, to release power of God, to see unseen, to see promises of God, and to proclaim promises of God about coming revival, God is using these prayers. I'm in the desert, I'm here, and I come into the desert to pray, but I pray for cities, I pray for people. And it's so important to pray even when we are in the wilderness. Pray about spiritual wilderness, and God will honor our prayers as He honored prayer of Abraham, and He will release changes and He will release blessings.